Hi, welcome back to Big C's Reviews and Milo's Adventures, but this segment's called Big C Talks Spurs. Being that the draft is coming up in next month from 25th and 26th, so I thought I would talk about some of the guys that I think the Spurs might be looking at. This is a new segment. I'm going to try doing this every summer before the draft to try to get, I love my Spurs. I've been following them since I was a kid, so we're talking about the 4th and 8th pick first. I'm thinking maybe the 4th pick, if it's possible, and he's still there, which most likely he will be. Spurs may pick Stefan Castle. He was a point guard in high school. He was an All-American, 5-star point guard. Went to UConn, won 2 back-to-back NCAA championships. So the guy's got some talent. He's a young kid, good defender. He still needs to work on his shot, but I think that he would fit perfectly with the Spurs. He's a young player. I think the Spurs are looking to look at young guys, best fits, and I don't think they're looking for best player. I think they're looking for what need they need. So he can play point guard. You can play him at both positions, off guard and point guard, and maybe a little bit of small forward, so he can play multiple positions, which is a very smart thing and a very good thing for him. He'll help out a lot. So if they don't get him during that time, they may go with Rob Dillingham from Kentucky, who's a great point guard too. Mostly a scorer. His passing is not bad. It's better than what people think. In Kentucky, he was a pretty decent passer, good scorer. I think he'd pair really well with Wemby, and I think him and Castle both would pair well with Wemby. They're both really good players and good young players that the Spurs can help build around Wemby with. So those two guys would be a great pickup. Maybe even if they don't go with either one of those, they might go with Nikola Topic, even though he hurt his knee. It was not a severe injury like they thought, so the Spurs may try to pick him at 4, but if they can, they might take him at 8, because of his injury, it may drop him in the draft. So if they don't take him, somebody else will during that time. So those two guys are really impressive. I really like those two players. Another player who probably land at 4 could be Reed Shepherd from Kentucky. He's a really good guard, good scorer. He just off the charts at the combine. The guy's super athletic, can score, I think he's going to Houston at 3, so he may not be there when the Spurs are drafting. Another guy who might go at 4 is Ron Holland from the elite team in the G League. He is a really good defender. I think he would fit really well with the Spurs. Him and Castle would make a great combination for the Spurs on the court on the defensive end. So that would be one of those teams that, oh my God, that's going to be scary on the court, along with Sohan and Wemby. And you can imagine with Vassell. That is an awesome defensive group right there that's very hard to beat. So I think that would make a great pick. And then if he doesn't go at 4, he might go at 8. So that would be a great pick for San Antonio. He's got some great skills. He's a very highly skilled player. Good defender. I think he's pretty decent at shooting, good athleticism. So he's going to fit nicely with San Antonio. So I think a player like him would be perfect there at either 4 or 8. But most likely, if they don't pick him at 4, they'll take him at 8. And I do like Dalton Knecht from Tennessee. Now, that guy is a great scorer. He's an athlete. He's a little bit older than the other guys, but he's more NBA ready than most guys that are being drafted in this class. So I think he's going to he would make a good spot at 8 or maybe not at 4. But at 8, he would be a great pickup for San Antonio. He's a good shooter, so I think we need more shooting. So that would be a great asset for the Spurs to pick up and keep him around. Cody Williams too would be he's a great athlete. He's a pretty good defender. I think him and Castle would make a good combo too. So those guys I think are going to be great for the Spurs at those picks. And maybe even Salon would fall at 8. And I know Wimby's really high on him. And I know the Spurs like him, so he would be a good there at 8 too. So Salon's a really athletic young player. He's a pretty decent shooter. Of course, he's kind of like a project. So at 8 is not a bad pick for a project. He's got the game. He just needs to work on it. He's decent rebounder, pretty good shooter. So he needs some seasoning. So he'll probably be, if they pick him up, they'll send him to the G League and not they'll leave him in Europe for another year. So I really like him too. He's a pretty good player. So I can't think of any other guys that I think that might fit well with the Spurs. If y'all see this and y'all can think of somebody I might have missed, please, write it, put it on, post it, so that way I can remember, because it's a lot of guys to think of. So in the second round, now there's 3 guys I like. PJ Hall from, where'd he go? I forgot his college, but PJ Hall can be a big forward for the Spurs. He'd be good at the 35th pick. So I think he'd fit really well with San Antonio. He's a good big man, 6'10", can play the post, can shoot a little bit. So he'd be a good player. And then Freeman from Akron is a pretty good rebounder, decent scorer. I think he'd fit really well with San Antonio. And there's another guy from France called Deadet or something like that. He's a guard. He's 6'8". He's still raw, so he would be a good second round pick. And the Spurs can either keep him in Europe or bring him to the G League and help him develop. So I think that guy would be really well too. I thought of another guy that could be from 4 to 8 is Devin Carter. Devin Carter's another one of those guys that the Spurs might be eyeing. I know Freeman they like a lot. Devin Carter's a good guard. I think he's still got a lot to work on too, but he would fit perfectly with San Antonio too. So the Spurs need a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that could fall. And guys in second round, there's other guys I can't think of. But I know that they have a good choices in that spot that can help them in the future. So I know we have 2 second round picks. And really in the second round, they can pick a project player from there. Could be a European guy, could be a U.S. college guy. So it could be either one. There's other guys that I may not think of right now. But I know they'll do well with those picks. They'll pick what's either best player available or they'll pick what need they need. Because right now we need point guard and small forward. And if they went in the second round, let's say they pick a project player, like a big man from the second round, they can do, there's a guy from UCLA, Bona, I think's his name. He would be a good backup for Wimby. They might think to pick somebody up to maybe replace Collins with, because maybe Collins, he may not be around. They may end up either trading him or, there's a lot of possibilities that they're talking maybe even Keldon Johnson, which I like Keldon. I really do. I think Keldon's a good guy, good basketball player, but the Spurs feel like he's just not meshing well with Wimby. It would be sad to see him go because Keldon's a really good guy and a good Spurs guy. He's good with the community and stuff, so he'd be a good pickup. He would be a sad loss for the Spurs because Keldon's a great guy and he's been around the Spurs for a while, so it would be very hard to see him leave. Now they're talking about possible trades around draft time, maybe even Darius Garland, and I don't want Trae Young. Trae Young is a problem in the locker room. We do not need a player like that. He doesn't fit with the Spurs way, and he wouldn't be a good fit for us. Now, Garland's good. I know they've brought up a couple other guys. Even Donovan Mitchell's come up a few times. And even Chris Paul. Chris Paul could come to us as a free agent, so could be another pickup for the Spurs, but a lot of people say because Chris is so old. But hey, I'm an old guy, and Chris has been playing basketball for a long time, since I was young, and he's a great point guard. So if they picked him up, he would be a good backup point guard for the Spurs. It all depends on what they're looking at. Another guy I hope they bring back is Mamu Skidishvili. He's a really good player. He played really well at the end of the season last year, so I look forward to seeing Mamu back in the silver and black. And I hope when they make, if they get rid of guys like Graham, which Graham's a great player, but if they feel there's a need and they can give him up to somebody where he can actually get more minutes and play, I mean, that would be good for Graham. I was really sad seeing him on the bench and not playing a lot of minutes last year when they could have played him, and he's a really good player. He's always been known as a good point guard to come in and just give you some instant offense. So they don't keep him. He'll be great off the bench. And then I know Seti Osman was also a guy. I think he's a free agent this year too. But I like Seti Osman. I think he did a great job for the Spurs coming off the bench. He's a pretty good ball handler as a shooter. He just fits the Spurs offense, and I think he would be a great person to bring back, depending on how much roster spots we have. Now, of course, we have 3 two-way spots. So, of course, like our second rounders would go back there. Now, they also could bring back Barlow, and he could be on the regular roster with Spurs, but maybe put some rookie free agents in that two-way spots along with our draft picks, so we could have 1 spot left and they can fight for it either in summer league and then in camp for the preseason. So I think there's a lot of things Spurs can do and get really creative with this team, and they're going to have a decent season next year. I'd say play in next year. They're not going to playoffs, but play in, yes. They're going to have a lot more better players, young guys. They're going to do really well. And the guys meshed pretty well at the end of the season, so I'm hoping they start the season well. And Wemby he's a phenomenal guy, phenomenal player, probably the greatest defensive player in NBA history by the end of his career. So I see him winning the Defensive Player of the Year next year, and he's going to really he is our franchise. Everybody says, oh, he's like Tim. No, he's not like Tim. He's David. He is David Robinson. He's not Tim. Tim is not. He was never like Wemby. Wemby is more personal. Wemby likes talking to fans. Tim sometimes was not he was just not fan friendly. And it's not on, saying he's a bad person. Just he's not very good with people. So Tim I met him personally one time. This is coming from personal experience. We met him at a restaurant one time. He refused. He was leaving the restaurant. He refused to even sign an autograph. I mean, what type of player is that? He forgets that the people in San Antonio were paying for his salary. And these are fans. You don't turn your fans away. So after that, I was not very happy with Timmy. I liked him as a player, but not as a person outside of. He was not fan accessible. But that's, another time for another place. But still, I really think that Wemby is more David Robinson. He's more friendly with fans. He's that type of freak athleticism like David had, and even probably more off the charts than what David had. Because David could walk on his hands all the way down the court. That's a freak right there. That athleticism off the charts. So I think Wemby is going to surprise a lot more people, and a lot of teams are scared because when Wemby gets his full potential, he is going to be a scary player, and he will end up being one of the greatest players in NBA history. Now, also, he has to stay healthy, so that's another important thing to get him a backup, so he doesn't have to play so many minutes, and they don't hurt him. So I really look forward to next season. I look forward for the guys to do, play well, and a lot of good players the players going to be working out this summer. I look for Seti Soko to have a better season this year after his rookie year. He showed some flashes last year or so. I really think that he's going to improve over the summer and be a better player next year. So I saw some good flashes of him in the G League, and also when he was up with a big team during the last few games of the season. So I think he's going to be a great player. I really see a lot of guys improving over the summer, and some of the guys are going to be playing in the Olympics, so that's going to be really fun. But I pray that they're all safe out there and stay healthy while they're playing for the Olympics, because I know that sometimes that could be an issue. People get hurt during the Olympic Games, so that's what I'm hoping don't happen. I admire both the players that can play for their country and represent their country. That's a big honor. So I think that's really nice. I think Wemby's playing for France, and I think Sohan, is playing for Poland. So I know there's some good players out there, and the Olympics are going to be real exciting to watch. So thank you for listening to Big C's Talk Spurs. This is going to be, I'm going to try to do this every year after the draft or before the draft to kind of go over some guys that I think that might end up in San Antonio, and let me know, leave me in the comments, let me know who else y'all think may end up here. Thank you and have a great day. God bless. And thanks for listening to Big C's Talk Spurs.